Right, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Kieran and welcome back to yet another episode of a new survival horror. And today we're actually going to be taking a look at an indie game that a YouTube user, Walter Waltowski, let me just, I'll say that with a question mark, recommended to me in one of my videos called Under the Rain. Now when I first checked out this game and watched a few trailers on it, I thought it looked pretty janky, to be honest. And it actually gave me a kind of like crying is not enough feeling, which if you've been with my channel for a while, that game is not so good. It's actually a really shit. But what piqued my interest with Under the Rain was the playable demo the dev released over on Gamejolt. I'll have a link to that down in the description below if you want to check that out. And if you do have a PC, then yeah, definitely play it because it is quite a cool demo. It has a bunch of documents and stuff like that in it, so you can read up on the lore of the game. It's quite cool. The demo showed off the game's prologue section, but the demo was also only really for players to get a feel for the combat and overall gameplay mechanics. Under the Rain is being developed by Telmo Pereira, who seems to have been working on this game for 4 years, based off of his YouTube channel that has development updates dating back to 2014. So yes, let's dive right into it, no point in like fucking lollygagging around. Let's start with the story. Under the Rain follows Randolph Carter, who has recently been suffering from a reoccurring nightmare that is now starting to affect his day-to-day life. He is then summoned by a mysterious stranger to return to the city of Arkham. And no, not Arkham City like in the Batman game, but the city that some of you may know of that is in the Cthulhu mythos. Carter will explore the abandoned and cursed city of Arkham and some other locations also found in the Cthulhu mythos to uncover the mysteries of his dreams. A thing I hate is that I don't really want to start these videos with like negative aspects of games, but this one thing really has kind of ticked me off, and that thing is the fact that the developer has planned this game out episodically, which is, most of you know, gamers don't really like that sort of format. I mean, it works for games like The Walking Dead and Life is Strange because those games are trying to be like interactive TV shows in a sense, but for a survival horror game I just don't feel like it really needs it at all, really. I know it gets the game out there sooner, but the truth is, when episode 1 drops, people will play it and beat it, and then they'll completely forget about the game, like, not even a month later. To name a few episodic horror games, Albino Lullaby is a prime example that a game that only released episode 1 and is now forgotten about. Granted, episode 2 of that game isn't even out yet, it's been like, what, 5 years I want to say? Same goes with Home Sweet Home, another horror game that, what most people actually don't know, is actually only episode 1 of a series, with episode 2 being in the dark for years. What I'm saying here is, if you're a horror developer and plan on doing episodic releases of your game, please plan out these releases. Don't just finish episode 1 then be like, oh sorry guys, you're going to have to wait another year for episode 2, because they will not wait. They will move on pretty damn fast and probably won't come back. But yeah, short rant over, I was gonna keep going on there, but no, let's get back to the game. To be honest, I'm actually liking the fact that this game is based in the Cthulhu mythos, and playing it, you don't really get that vibe off it. I kinda wish that I didn't actually know about that, so when I went into it and started to see Lovecraft-inspired events, I would get excited. Well, I still will, but you know. But yeah, that's all we really know about the story of Under the Rain. I'm really curious to see what more there is, because in the demo there is notes and all that you can read up on, but I didn't really go in and read all the notes there. I kinda wanted to save myself for the actual full game. I didn't want to get invested too much before the game released, so yeah. But yes, anyway, next up is the gameplay, so let's dive into that. Under the Rain is a true classic survival horror experience with, I want to say, a very Silent Hill inspired environment and mechanics. It also brings back the classic fixed camera angles a lot of survival horror fans love, and it works quite well here. The developer didn't just throw in a fixed camera at like every corner of the room. I've noticed that they do quite creative things with some shots in the prologue level, and I hope they continue this throughout the entire game. A major plus to this game which I found when playing, and I don't think it was really portrayed well in the trailers, but it is the over-the-shoulder view. This allows you to get a closer look at specific parts of the room that are usually cut off by the fixed camera. The over-the-shoulder view is also used for gun combat as well, but fucking hell, by the way, like, I have to admit this, I'm not gonna avoid all the negative aspects of this game. I have to bring it up so they can become better, but man, that over-the-shoulder view when you're aiming the handgun is just bad. I'm just going to say that outright, it's not great. It can be improved on a lot, actually. Like, most of the screen was the character's head and you could barely see shit. Maybe this was added in, like, intentionally, so it's like, oh yeah, you can barely see what you're shooting, adds into that more intensity to the fight. But nah, it definitely it definitely didn't come across like that. I hope this kind of like view for the handgun thing was only for like the early build of the game and they fixed this, because it does really look bad, I just have to say. And with this sort of game and this sort of like promise to it as well, I need to bring this up so they can improve it, because this is like, there's only a few issues with this game that's kind of taking it down a notch, and this is one of them, and I really hope they improve it, because it does remind me a lot of like Krag's Not Enough, sort of like snappy over the shoulder shooting thing, and they need to remove that. They just need to make it better. There's so many different ways you can tackle that over the shoulder shooting mechanic, and I think Resident Evil 4, you need to look at that game as well, because that game actually does nail it quite good. Apart from that, and some parts of the character movements, which mostly involves just rotating the character, is great and actually works quite well. The melee combat is good and really feels impactful. when you start hitting enemies, you can really feel that blow, you know? Of course, you can hit enemies in either fixed camera, or you can hold in L2 or whatever key it is to go into the over the shoulder perspective, which I do recommend, because just aiming and maneuvering around enemies during fights is a whole lot easier when you're in that over the shoulder perspective. Other cool classic survival horror elements do return as well, such as item management, limited save slots that also come with dedicated save locations, like in Silent Hill with the red save slots, and in Resident Evil with the typewriter. I want to say puzzles also come back in this game, because it is a Cthulhu sort of game as well, so if puzzles aren't in here, I'm going to be quite disappointed, but because this is a classic survival horror game already, I'm guessing puzzles do make a return. A cool mechanic in this game, which I'm quite dreadful at, is the stealth. When crouched, players can navigate around enemies by sticking to the shadows and turning off your flashlights. Instead of having an eye indicator telling you if enemies are aware of your presence, this is monitored by the screen's saturation, which I actually really liked. If you're playing in black and white, you're all good, but if you start seeing colour, then you're basically fucked and the mutant bastards know where you are. Just realised this is actually quite shitty for people who are colourblind, but I guess they'll know if they're gonna get caught, because you'll see the big mutant guy hurtling towards them. But yeah, let's move on to the enemies. And Under the Rain, we will be fighting bug things and other weird humanoid mutants. This is judging from the demo, but these enemies are quite interesting, I want to say. Like, if you encounter the small flying bug enemies, this is basically a punishment for checking too many cabinets, as sometimes when you open one, they can be hiding in there ready to pounce. So if your mind wanders and you're just, like, you know, searching everything just for items, which you do, like all these cabinets and all that, they do usually have painkillers or ammo clips. If you're not thinking and you're not too careful, you can be opening one and you get ambushed, which I quite like. The human mutants are also quite tough as well, as when I was playing, I actually emptied a full clip into it, and it was still chasing me, so maybe it's best just to like stealth your way around them. So that was Under the Rain. Again, thanks to Walter for sharing this one with me. I'm actually really surprised I didn't come across it before, because when I go looking for survival horror games on the internet, I go deep diving like I'm trying to find a fucking lost relative. But yeah, this game looks interesting. There is a few kinks that the developer needs to work out, but overall I think it's definitely going to be a fun game. Again, I am very wary about the episodic thing the dev wants to do with this game, but that's just me and my general dislike of that style of release. And it could work out quite well for them, it depends, it all just depends. But again, I can't tell you how many horror episodic games I've seen where they release episode 1 and then the game just dies, it's dead, and then the team just no longer work on it anymore. That is me for today. What do you guys think of Under the Rain? Do you have any other survival horror games you would like to be covered as well? Please let me know down in the comments below. Again, special thanks to my brilliant wee Patreon, Simon609, Devil, Proxy1 and Spooky Nerd for their continued support over on my Patreon. I really fucking appreciate it. I know I'm a bit late on making some of those Patreon videos I promised, but yeah, don't worry, they are still coming, and they're going to be coming very soon. Anyway guys, thank you all for watching, and I shall see you later. Bye bye.